Out to Senator Rand Paul. What do you make of what's going on in Wisconsin? It's like they're put in parks, Senator. What do you make of that?
Well, I've been seeing this coming for quite a while. You know, the states are out of money, the federal government's out of money. Everybody is pinched for money in this bad economy. And really, the government unions are going to have to take a little bit of the same medicine that everyone in the private sector has had to take.
But they're not, and right now they might have, at least for the time being, a legal loophole, if not an out, because now they got a ticked-off judge. You know how this goes, Senator, back and forth, in and out of courts. Everything stays as is. So advantage big public sector spending.
Well, I think what will happen is public opinion may well turn when the people in the public learn that federal employees have almost double the compensation that private employees have. The average federal worker's total compensation is about $120,000. The average private worker's total compensation is about $61,000. So I think when people see that, they're going to say, look, I'm having a tough time paying the taxes to support these government unions. Maybe these government unions are going to have to contribute to their pension. Maybe they're going to have to pay something for their health care like I'm having to pay. So when I hear regular taxpayers in Kentucky, they don't have a lot of sympathy because they're paying high insurance premiums and they have to pay for their own retirement.
All right, now, your dad had already indicated that if they bring this measure up to extend the government, I guess, through the end of the fiscal year, the way it stands now, if it's going to be a middle ground of $30 billion in cuts and whatever, he wouldn't vote for it. What about you?
I think the problem is that if you so-called take away $30 billion from Obama's plan, President Obama's deficit this year will be $1.65 trillion. If you take away $30 billion, you're looking at a $1.62 trillion. I can't vote for trillion-dollar deficits. In fact, the CBO came out today and they scored President Obama's 10-year plan. After 10 years, President Obama's plan will still be adding $1 trillion a year. I'm not sure we have 10 years left in us as a country and an economy if we continue to run trillion-dollar deficits.
So you would be okay with, in that event, shutting the government down? Because I don't know if you heard, Senator, your colleague from New York, Chuck Schumer, I'm sure you guys pal around, have lunch a lot, that sort of thing. He is saying, bring it on, baby, bring it on.
Well, the interesting thing is that the only people I hear talking about shutting down the government are the Democrats. They think they could win some cheap PR victory. But, you know, I think the American people want us to do something about the problems. They don't want a cheap PR victory where the Democrats can say, oh, somebody else shut the government down. They're the only ones talking about shutting the government down.
But what he's saying, Senator, and I was trying to make clear to your dad as well, is something weird that this sort of like a kabuki theater going on here where he has locked John Boehner into this predicament where he pushes the government into a shutdown unless he agrees to these big cuts, and Boehner can't win. What do you make of that?
Yeah, well, I think what he's doing is it's a cheap PR battle. He's wanting to win a PR battle and say, oh, Republicans shut the government down. But meanwhile, what we want to talk about is a balanced budget amendment. We want to talk about a massive deficit that needs to be fixed, where we would cut, how we would reform entitlements, and yet the other side wants to talk about shutting down government because they're jumping up and down with glee. The Democrats would like nothing better than have the government shut down.
You might be right. You know, I've admired your guts of this whole process, but not even Republicans, Senator, no offense, are carrying your baton. When you came out the gate very early on and said, look, I've got $500 billion worth of cuts, and recognized right away that that would only take out a third of what at the time was the $1.5 trillion deficit. You were like, you know, me showing up at a salad bar. Everyone's looking, and they ignore you, and they're Republicans. So I'm just saying, if your own team is ignoring you, that's not good.
There's a disconnect. There's a disconnect between the grassroots out there in the countryside who realize that we can't have trillion-dollar deficits and who are ready for spending cuts.
Who's ready? Who in your party is ready to do what you just did?
Everybody I meet in Kentucky, every voter I meet, every Tea Party I go to.
You got 99 other guys with you who don't seem to have a fraction of your guts. So who's with you?
Well, I will tell you, last week we produced a 5-year balanced budget. We're the only office in the Senate or the House that's produced a plan to balance the budget. We have a 5-year plan to balance the budget. Senator DeMint and Senator Lee both stood up and supported that.
Okay, well, you got 97 others. You got 97 others. You're on a roll.
Well, give me a break. I've only been here a couple of months.
I know.
So
Senator,
I'm still trying.
Thank you very much. We'll have more right after this.